We're going to kick off with an incredible global thought leader, Matthew Fox. And it's my honor to introduce Matthew and bring him up here to kick off this day, the future of interspirituality from awareness to action, as part of this Unity Earth Symposium, Spiraling Up, a New Energy for Planetary Consciousness. It's a very special time. And we're so honored to start with a very special guest. So let me do the introduction here for Matthew. So Matthew Fox is a theologian, activist, priest, and founder of the creation spirituality movement for over 50 years through more than 40 books, mind you, and still more coming, as well as global teaching. Matthew has called people to become mystics, prophets, and compassionate activists, honoring the earth while working for justice and spiritual renewal. We're so honored, Matthew, to have you here with us to kick off this beautiful day as we look forward to the future of interspirituality, or a term that you will introduce to everybody, deep ecumenism, and also looking at how we go from awareness to action. Thank you for being with us, and welcome back to Unity Earth, and welcome to the Symposium.
Good morning, and thank you to the Unity Earth team, Ben and Kurt Johnson among them as leaders, and many more that have made it possible, this gathering this weekend, and the 2 volumes on interfaith or deep ecumenism that have already made a great impact. I consider deep ecumenism or interfaith to be one of the great signs of hope in our time. If we can, no matter what traditions we come from or none, if we can gather to do what needs to be done from our hearts and from the wisdom of our traditions, humanity has hope. And 2 events this past week testify to that. The theme of our gathering this morning is the future of interspirituality from awareness to action. 2 actions were in the news this past week. One was the culmination of the Buddhist monks' peace march that began in Houston and ended this week in Washington, D.C., where thousands of people came out along the way to embrace the monks, to support them, and to testify to their witness and their generosity in making this peace march. And no one asked them what religion they were, because it was beyond religion as such. It was a testimony to peace. Another example this past week in the news of action coming from deep ecumenism or interspirituality was the protests over the last month in Minneapolis, where thousands of people came out nonviolently, protested, speaking their hearts, speaking their consciences against the murders of their fellow citizens and the kidnapping of so many as well. And again, people who protested were not being asked their religion, but obviously their deepest spiritual impulses, their moral outrage, and their commitment to nonviolence were displayed so that all could see. I had a dream about 25 years ago that was very foundational for me. And the dream said this. It said, there's nothing wrong with the human species today except one thing. This is quite startling in itself. I think we could all make a list of 100 things that's wrong with the human species today. But no, the dream said only one thing is wrong with our species. Quote, you have forgotten the sense of the sacred, unquote. You have forgotten the sense of the sacred. Recovering the sense of the sacred, therefore, is obviously foundational to our future as a species and the future of this planet as we know it, and so many other species. How do we go about recovering a sense of the sacred? Well, Thomas Berry, a Catholic priest and geologian, he called himself, a student of today's science, the new cosmic story from science, says that we recover a sense of awe and wonder, which is the sacred, only by rediscovering the universe itself as the primary sacred reality. Well, the universe itself is being rediscovered today. We've got Webb telescope going, pouring images and stories of the beauty of the universe from 13.8 billion years ago right up to today. We are being continually blessed by today's science. And science is one of the sources of wisdom just as much as our religious traditions are today. It's part of deep ecumenism, of interspirituality, to incorporate science, and especially these stories about cosmology and the universe we live in on a regular basis, into our hearts, into our rituals, into our feelings, to move beyond the anthropocentrism that has marked so much of the modern era, so that we can contribute together to a beautiful world and to the wonder that this planet of ours is in the midst of all the other 2 trillion galaxies, each with hundreds of stars. This is one of the signs of our times that we need to take into our hearts. Now, this theme today is about work. And I want to point out that in my book, The Reinvention of Work, A New Vision of Livelihood for Our Time, I adapted the 4 paths of creation spirituality as a method to draw out what all the world traditions say about the sacredness, back to that word sacred, the sacredness of our work. So we've talked about the sacredness of our universe, now the sacredness of our work, which is, of course, part of the universe. Our species was born of the universe, and it took it 13.8 billion years deciding whether it would dare to give birth to us or not, and here we are. So there are so many gifts that the mystics from all the world traditions give to us around the theme of work. Thomas Aquinas from Europe says, to live well is to work well, or display a good activity. Working well, living well, and displaying a good activity. That's what work is about, putting our commitment to goodness into the world. And this is such a gift that we're invited to give to the world. And other traditions absolutely are on board with this. The Bhagavad Gita says, all actions take place in time by the interweaving of the forces of nature. But the person lost in selfish delusion thinks that he himself is the actor. That our work is community work. It's coming from a large place. It's coming from the energy of the universe, of creation itself that has brought us here. And Meister Eckhart, the great Christian mystic of the 14th century, said, the outward work can never be small if the inward work is great. And your outward work can never be great or good if your inward work is small or of little worth. Your inward work always includes in itself all size, all breadth, and all length. So our work is cosmic work. Our work is born of the cosmos. It's born of our attitudes toward being here. Are we grateful for being here? Are we returning thanks for thanks and blessing for blessing? All that comes to fruition in our work. Now, work is also, of course, about relieving the pain and the grief of one another. That's the via negativa. The via positiva is about the joy and the beauty of life, the via and gratitude. The via negativa is recognizing the suffering, but it's also emptying ourselves so that that inner work of being emptied, that we learn from meditation and contemplation. This we bring to our work because we bring our conscience to our work. And this is how we cleanse the conscience, and we bring the best of ourselves to the task at hand. And then, of course, the via creativa, we bring our moral imagination to our work. We bring our creativity to our work. Work is our expression of creativity. Indeed, Meister Eckhart says that he had a dream once that even though a man, he was pregnant with nothingness, and out of this nothingness, God was born. He says we are all here to give birth to the Christ, or if you will, the Buddha, or the Selam, the image of God in Judaism. Any other effort to name the divine is what we are here to give birth to. And then, of course, the via transformativa is about compassion and social justice. And that's at the heart of all our work, whether we are politicians or business people or artists or teachers. We have to bring all these dimensions of spirituality, our love of life, our gratitude for life, our joy of life, our emptiness, our willingness to see things new and fresh, nothingness, and the suffering of the world, the grieving of the world. How can we relieve the grief of the world? And our creativity, all this comes in a crescendo to the via transformativa, the culmination of our work. And it's such an opportunity for us to be here on this planet after 13.8 billion years, amidst 2 trillion galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. We are co-workers with the universe. We are co-workers with the Christ, with the Buddha, with St. Francis, with Hildegard, with Sister Dorothy Stang, who was assassinated in the Amazon several years ago for defending the rainforest there. She was a student of mine. And there are so many martyrs today in our world, and they have been in our lifetimes. People who are willing, Dr. Martin Luther King, who are putting themselves on the line because they believe. They believe they're bringing their best values and their best selves into their work. And that is why work is such a celebration of all that is profoundly human and all that is profoundly spiritual in the best sense of the word. And this we find in all the world traditions. The Tao Te Ching says, in work, do what you enjoy. The Via Positiva, bring joy to your work. Take joy out of your work, but also serve. Serve to relieve the pain and the suffering of others, so that our work can open the door to the healthy work and the generous work and the courageous work of others. That's our job, in the deepest sense of the word, to be workers for the sake of compassion, for the sake of one another, and for the sake of future generations. Thank you.